Hi, today we're going to find the volume of prisms, cylinders, pyramids, and cones. So you need to take your index card and put two formulas on it for today. Now the first one here on the left is for prisms and for cylinders. So go ahead and make sure you write that down. And on the right, if the shape has a point, like a pyramid or a cone, we're going to take the same formula, but we're going to divide it by 3. So you need to make sure you have both of these on your card before we continue. Okay, B, capital B, right here, capital B is the area of the base. So remember, the height must be perpendicular to the base. Okay, so when we're doing volume, which by the way, it is easier than surface area, so relax. This is an easier lesson than the previous. The top and the bottom, those are bases. Those are rectangles. Okay, so we need to find the formula on your sheet for rectangles, which is base times height. Remember, those are the two pieces that make the right angle. So on the bottom, I know this front is 3, and I know this side here is 2, and I get that number from up here at the top. And I'm going to multiply 2 times 3 to get 6. The height, the distance between the bases is 7. You get that just because you know how far apart the bases are from each other. Now, our formula is pretty easy today. It's just capital B times H. So you have to find the area of the base, which is the rectangle. So that's how I get the 6. And then I times by how far apart those two rectangles are. So that is 7. So I'm going to multiply 6 times 7 to get 42. But now we're finding volume. So it is units cubed. So it's meters cubed. And we're finished. So it's a much quicker, faster thing than what we were doing before. Now, sometimes they do try to throw in some tricky stuff, and I will help you with the tricky stuff here. Now, first, you have to identify what kind of shape it is. This is a prism, and the base is a triangle. So this is called a triangular prism. So I outlined in blue the triangles. And so I know the base is a triangle. Remember, the bases are always parallel and congruent. You have to write down the formula for the base, which is 1/2 base times height. This is a formula that's on your reference sheet. So now here's why it's tricky. I need to give you some numbers. This is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So if they give you the hypotenuse to find the two legs, you would divide by root 2. And I wrote that in right here. Oops, that's not a highlighter. Let's get a highlighter out. So I'm not going to make you do 30 or 60, 90 or 45, 45, 90 on your test. So just for now, just go ahead and write in that these two sides are 3. That would be given to you. Okay, so to find the area of this triangle, it's 1/2 3 times 3 because the formula is 1/2 base times height. So I get 4.5. Ooh, I keep not turning on the highlighter. There we go. Now, how far apart are your bases? So you have the triangle in the front, the triangle in the back. They are 5 units apart. So the height is 5. So we're going to do base times height. Now you already found the base. It's 4.5. You're going to times how far apart they are, which is 5. So I get 22.5 centimeters cubed. And that's it. So much easier than the last class. Okay, so this is a triangular prism. So the base is a triangle. So we're going to use 1/2 base times height again. So we need the two pieces that make the right angle. So I'm going to highlight those here. Right there's the right angle. Now, as you can see, we're missing the one side. So I'm going to do Pythagorean to find the side. So my hypotenuse is 22. And so I'm going to square the 22. I'm going to take the x and the 16 and also square those. And I'm going to go ahead and solve for x. And when I do, I get 15.1. This is a 1. I know it's kind of hard to read. 15.1. Okay, so once you find the two pieces that make the right angle, we're just going to multiply 1/2 times the base, which is 16, times the height, which is 15.1. And when you multiply those, you get 120.8. And we know the two triangles are 10 units apart. So, guys, base times height, what's the base? The base is 120.8. We already found that. The height is 10. So my final answer got cut off. My final answer is 1,008 millimeters cubed. Okay, so we're finished. Okay, on the next one, this is a cylinder. So the bases are circles. So we're looking here at these two circles. The formula for a circle is pi r squared. So we need to find the area of our base. So my radius is 4.5. So I just plug this in here. So remember, you just take your calculator, take 4.5 and you square it. You just bring over the pi symbol. So I get 20.25 pi. So how far apart are your circles? So they're 8.5 apart. So notice it's 8.5. The formula is just base times height. So I'm going to take the 8.5 that I just found. I'm going to take the 20.25 pi that I previously found. And I'm going to multiply those together. And when I do, I get this big long answer of 172.125 pi centimeters cubed. So this is another type of cylinder. This is just a short cylinder. My bases are the top and the bottom. So I'm actually going to unhighlight that. Now, if my top and the bottom are my bases, what is the height? How far apart are they? Well, it's this number right here, guys. It's only 1 unit. That's the height. What's the area of my base? Well, it's pi radius squared, and my radius is actually going to be 3 here. So if my radius is 3 and I square it, I get 9 pi. So if I take volume, which is base times height, and I multiply 9 pi times 1, I get 9 pi inches cubed. Okay, so now we're going to move on to pyramid. So anytime it goes to a single point, that means you're going to take the base times height formula and divide it by 3. So if you notice, our formula is different now. We're going to divide by 3. My base is a regular shape, which means it's a square. How do you find the area of a square? Well, that's just base times height. So I'm taking 8 times 8 to get the 64. Now this is height of the figure. So this is just regular h. So my height of the figure is this one straight in the middle, not the slanted one. So the number in the middle is 10. So base times height, guys. It's that easy. My base I already found, 64. My height is 10. And my formula now says I need to divide by 3. So I get 213.3 inches cubed. Now, on the next one, they're going to make you work for this height. They give you the slant height. So notice here they give you the slanted, but you don't want the slanted. You want the one that goes straight down. So we can find it. We just have to do Pythagorean And you're good at Pythagorean, so that's not a big deal. Now, here's the number that's kind of tricky to get. I mean, it's not too bad, though. How do I get this 5? Well, I know this entire length is 10, so half of 10 is 5. Okay, that's not so bad. Let's find the hypotenuse, the right angle straight across. So the 13 is my hypotenuse. The other two sides are x and 5. I'm going to square each of those and start solving. And so 13 squared is 169. 5 squared is 25. Start solving. X is 12. Okay, so now the 12 that you just found, this is the height of the pyramid. Okay, so we're not finished. The base is a square. The formula for a square is base times height. So 10 times 10 is 100. So again, it's an easy equation. Base times height over 3. So 12 times 100 divided by 3 is 400 inches cubed. And we are finished. It's that easy. Okay, so moving on, we're going to talk about how to find, let's see, this is a cone. Now, we're going to find the volume of a cone. It goes to a single point, so we're going to take the base times height divided by 3 formula and use it this time. So the base is a circle. The formula to find the area of a circle is pi radius squared. So we're just going to plug in the radius. Okay, so that's pretty easy. So pi times 6 squared. 6 squared is 36. Okay. Now, the height. This is not slant height. This is just plain height, which is not provided. All right, dang. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this triangle and we're going to solve for h. Well, my hypotenuse is 10, and I did my work right up here at the top. My two other legs are 6 and h, right here, 6 and h. And I'm going to solve. So when I solve, I get h is 8. Okay, so you're not finished. You're not finished at all. Okay, so that is just your height. Your height is 8. So notice I put that in here. Okay, so let's use our formula. Base times height over 3. My base is 36 pi. My height is 8, and it's over 3. So I get 96 pi centimeters cubed. And moving on to part B, this is another cone. And again, my base is a circle. And they don't tell you the radius. Okay, so we have to figure out the radius. So notice I drew in this red triangle. Now it's green. Okay, so what's do Pythagorean? My hypotenuse is the 17, and I have the sides of 15 and x. Let's do Pythagorean and square them and solve for x now. And so when I do, I get x is 8. So that means my radius is now 8. Okay, which is very important. Now that you have your radius, you can plug it into your formula circle for the circle, which is pi r squared. All right, guys, so pi times 8 squared is 64 pi. Now, what's the height of the figure? Not the slant height. What's the regular height? The regular height is this number right here that's provided. It's the 15. Okay, so we're going to take base times height over 3. So 64 pi times 15 over 3. And I get 320 pi meters cubed. All right. And let's do part C. Again, and we have another cone. So my base is a circle. The formula is pi r squared. So I'm going to plug that in. So pi r squared, I have pi times 4.1 squared. And here, I want to double check this number. 1 second. 4.1 squared. Yeah, this number got cut off. This is 16.81. Now my height of the figure, again, it's not the slant height, it's the regular height, is not given. So I'm going to have to draw in a right triangle and solve for that height. So my hypotenuse is 12.7, and this radius at the bottom is 4.1, and I have to solve for h. Okay, so I'm going to do some Pythagorean, and looks like some of my work got cut off. So I'm just going to redo this over here. 12.7 squared is 161.29 equals 16.81 plus h squared. So let's subtract. Okay, so h squared is 144.48. And then lastly, I'm going to square root it. And when I square root both sides, I get 12.02. And, you know, if you go to one decimal place, that just goes to 12. Okay. So to get my final answer here, again, space times height over 3. So I found the area of my base already. It's right here at the top. 16.81. My height I just found is 12. And then I'm going to have to divide by 3. There was a pi up there. So there is a pi right there. All right. So I want to multiply this out, make sure my answer was correct. Yes, that's exactly the same answer. I get 67.24 pi. Now, don't forget about the pi, guys. I almost forgot about the pi right here and right here. So the pi is important. If you forget the pi, it does, honestly, it does mean a different number. Okay, so if you are in reverse, you can stop the video now. If you're in core 40, we need to keep going and talk about these composite pictures. So when you have a composite picture, that means we're just going to split it up into two or more smaller pictures and then add together the total volume. Okay, so for this shape here, I just cut it into 2 different prisms. So I have this little yellow prism, and then on the left I have the green prism. And so if you find the volume separately and then add them together, then it will work. Now, you can always go back to stuff that you learned in grade school. The green one, we can do length times width times height. That works. It really does. So if you remember length times width times height, we can do that. So here, I'm going to erase some of this so I can get rid of some of these colors. On the one on the left, one number is 4, and then my length and width would be 2, and then 8. So 2 times 4 times 8, and 2 times 4 is 8. And so that's how I have my work done here. 8 times 8 is 64. So on the left, the volume is 64. On the right, we need to find the 3 dimensions. Now, if this little bit here is 4 and this entire length is 6, we know that the leftover part is 2 because 4 plus 2 is 6. Okay, so what 3 numbers do we have to multiply here? We're going to multiply the 2 times 3, and then this depth here is also a 2. So 2 times 2 times 3 is 12. Okay, so I'm going to take my two answers that I just found and add them together and get 76 feet cubed. All right, I hope that made sense. So again, you're just finding the volume of the pieces individually, and then you're going to add them together. Okay, so on this one, we're going to find the volume of the prism on the left, and then on the right, that's half of a cylinder. Okay, so we're going to have to do the volume of each individually and then add them together to get your grand volume. Okay, so let's look at the prism. So the one here in green. How do I know some of the numbers I have written in? Okay, so first of all, I'm sure you guys see that the radius is 2. So if my radius is 2, it means that my diameter is 4. So if I have a diameter of 4, that means this height here is also 4. Okay, so I need the 3 dimensions, length, width, and height of the green prism. So 4 times 5 times 4. So 4 times 5 times 4, let's see. 4 times 5 is 20, and 20 times 4 is 80. Okay, that wasn't so bad. Now, let's do the cylinder. How do you find the cylinder? All right, cylinder is just base times height, but this is half of a cylinder, right? I mean, we only have the right side of the cylinder, so we're going to take the formula base times height and divide it by 2. So notice I have it labeled. We're going to do half of a cylinder. So what is the area of the base? What's the formula for circle? So the circle is pi radius squared. So we're going to have to plug in our radius, which is 2. Okay, so 2 squared is 4. So that's 4 pi. And my height, how far apart are those two circles? Well, it would be this length here. They are 5 apart, and we're going to divide it by 2. And so I get a grand total of 10 pi. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take the two previous answers. Remember this 80 up here? I'm going to bring this 80 over, and I'm going to take the 10 pi and bring it over. Now, one of them has a pi symbol and one doesn't. So when you add them together, you have to type it into your calculator to get a new number. You can't just add it together and put the pi symbol since the 80 doesn't have the pi. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of like, let's go back. If at algebra 1, if you have 80 and 10x, you can't add those together and make 90x because one of them doesn't have a variable. It's the same thing with the pi symbol. If one doesn't have a pi symbol, you can't add them together to make a new number with a pi symbol. All right, anyway. So when you add those together with a calculator, you should get 111.4 inches cubed. All right. Now, we need to talk about surface area of a sphere. Okay, so now this is a really easy formula. You're plugging in one number. Okay, so these are like pre-made or pre-given formulas. And one is for volume, one is for area. So you need to make sure you write these on your index card. And we're going to just plug in the information. Okay, so my radius here is 4. So my surface area is 4 pi times 4 squared. So on your calculator, 4 squared is 16, and you're going to times that by 4 to get 64 pi. Now, this is surface area, so this is yards squared. Now, to find volume, I'm going to take 4 pi times my radius and cube it, and then divide by 3. Okay, so let's practice this. 4 to the third power times 4 divided by 3. I get 85.3 pi yards cubed. Again, this is all calculator work. I'm just typing in numbers into the calculator to get my answer. I'm not typing in the pi into the calculator. I'm just bringing the pi over and including it with my answer. Okay, now on the next one, what is my radius? It shows you the diameter. So my radius is 4.5. So I'm just going to take the equations given. 4 pi times 4.5 squared. So on my calculator, I'm typing 4 times 4.5 squared. When I write my answer, I have to put a pi next to it. My answer is 81 pi meters squared. For volume, okay, so I'm going to take the 4.5 and cube it and put it over 3. So 4 times 4.5 cubed. And I'm just going to push enter and then hit divide by 3. Now, on my calculator, I have 121.5. I have to include the pi button and then the meters cubed. All right, so I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Let me know if you have any more questions, and feel free to sign up for a tutorial or send me some messages. Thank you. Bye.